Okay, today we're going to talk about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are equal fractions, okay? Now, as we talked about before, some fractions could be other fractions. Remember?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So, for instance, 5/10 can also be what?
1/2.
Right, and the way you can see that right away is if you look at the numerator, and it's half of the denominator, then it's obviously 1/2. Now, just in case you still don't get it, we're going to give you a little visual picture of that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's not easy to draw those. Okay, hold on. All right, it's not perfect, but it ought to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As we know, the denominator is how many pieces there are all together. 5 is how many you choose. 8 if it was a pizza or a pie, whatever. Now, how you can tell it's 1/2 to prove it, if you were to erase all the other little lines, you can see that 5/10 is equal to 1/2.
Yes.
Okay? Now, when it gets more difficult is when we're comparing two other fractions, right? So for instance, if we're looking at 1/6 and 1/4, and we want to see what is greater than or less than, what we have to do first is look at the denominators. We notice they're different, right? The numerators are the same, so that's fine. We know it's going to be one piece each. But how do we tell which one's greater than or less than?
The 1/4 is greater because 4 may be smaller, but the pieces would be bigger.
That's right. So when we're looking at the pie, this is 1/4. When we're looking at 1/6, that's 1/6. So when it comes to the denominator, the higher the denominator, the more pieces you have to share. The more pieces of pizza you have to share. The smaller the denominator, the bigger the pieces. Right? So, would you rather have 1/4 of a pizza or 1/6 of a pizza? 1/4. Okay. Right. Now you guys are actually pretty good at this stuff. So, let's move on real quick. We've already learned this. Now we're going to move on to other simplifying fractions. Now remember I told you we can take certain fractions and make them simpler. Okay? Basically show another fraction that's equivalent to this. So we have 6/10 right here, right?
Yeah.
Now we have some rules for simplifying fractions, finding equivalent fractions, okay? First rule is we got to check to see if it's half. Is the numerator half of the denominator?
No.
So that's out the window. Here's another rule. Is the numerator and the denominator even numbers?
Yes.
Oh, if they are even numbers, what can we do?
Divided by 2.
Right, but if we divide what by 2?
6 and 10.
6 and 10. We got to divide both sides by 2. Okay? So 6 divided by 2 is?
3.
And 10 divided by 2 is?
5.
So 6/10 is also 3/5. Okay? Now, you guys are pretty good at this already too, because we've already done this.
Yes.
This video is basically just to remind you. Now, here's the challenging part. When we have, let's say 8 plus 1/4. Okay, 3/8 plus 1/4. Now, here's the thing. We know that when we're adding fractions, we add them when the denominators are the same. So if we're adding 1/8 plus 2/8, we know it's going to be 3/8 because the pieces of the pie never change. There's always 8. How in the world do we add when the pieces of pie are different? So, let me show you. we have to find equivalent fractions. All right? That means we have to somehow turn these fractions into the same denominator, is what we need. That way we can compare how many pieces we need. How do we do that? I'll tell you. First, two things we got to do. First, we have to see, does one of the numbers go into the other? One of the denominators go into another denominator? Yes? All right, what?
One does because 4 is half of 8.
Right, 4 can go into 8, right? So that means we can change the denominator into an 8. But in order to do that, we have to find an equivalent fraction. So we're going to leave 8 alone because we know 4 can go into 8. So we're going to turn 4 into an 8. And the way we do that, 4 times what equals 8?
2.
Okay, so let's do a little 4 times 2. But if you multiply the denominator, you have to multiply the numerator. Just like when we're simplifying, we divide both sides by 2. When we're finding an equivalent fraction, we have to multiply both sides by 2. Okay, just because we know that's what we get to get to 8. Now, 2 times 1 is?
2.
And 2 times 4 is?
8.
Oh, look at that. 1/4 is also 2 8s. Now we could add it easily. 3 8s plus 2 8s equals?
5 8.
Boom. Now, here's the other thing. What if one number doesn't go into the other? What if we have 1/5 plus, let's say, 3/4? Well, 4 doesn't go into 5, 5 doesn't go into 4. What do we do then? Yes?
We multiply 5 times 4.
Yes! We know that if you multiply these two numbers, it equals what?
20.
20, right? So let's just make it equivalent. Let's make it 20. Now, the only way we can make it 20 is we have to multiply both sides by the opposite number. So 5 times 1 equals 20.
4.
So 5 times 4. Now we got to multiply the top one. Okay? So we will have 1 times 4 is? 4 times 5 is?
20.
Okay, let's cross out so we don't get confused. So 1/5 does equal 4/20. Now on this side we have to multiply 4 times what? 5. So let's do the top two. So 3 times 5 is?
15.
And 4 times 5 is?
20.
So now we know 3/4 is also 15/20. Now we bring it down. 4/20 plus 15/20 equals? 19/20. Ta-da!
It's like magic.
It's like magic.
Magic.